We're building the perfect mock drafts for the 2022 NFL Draft coming up here on April 28th. Of course, all of the coverage will be right here live, each and every pick in the Sportsocracy. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. And thanks to @ESPN Draft Nerd, he's built quite the haul for all of the teams here. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens.
This might be the best one of all the ones we've done so far.
That's a pretty high bar that you're going over there. The Baltimore Ravens have the 14th overall pick in the NFL Draft, and our perfect mock drafts aptly named after the perfect comedian. These are the Chris Farley perfect drafts.
Well, Lottie frickin' duh!
At 14, they're going to get a big man, Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa.
I had this originally, and then Tony Pauline and several other people that do what I do have basically said Trevor Penning's not getting past the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to look at this and go, well, you signed Morgan Moses, you're getting Ronnie Stanley back, you've still got Jawan James, who's been in mothballs for 18, 19 months now. None of that really matters. Morgan Moses is not a long-term solution. Trevor Penning can play guard immediately, and I think it'd be a damn good guard. You look at how this team can best succeed. They have brought back Calais Campbell. They brought in Marcus Williams. They've filled all of the holes. At this point, it's who do you value to be the best player on the board? And everything I've heard with Baltimore, Jordan Davis probably doesn't get here. Even if he does, I feel like you brought in Michael Pierce, and that's hat on a hat. And I'm not saying Michael Pierce is the long-term solution. I'm just not as dead sold on Jordan Davis as everybody else is. I mean, to me, he's a glorified version of Grady Jarrett. Well, he can run a 4.7 too. Well, whoop-de-fuck. He can probably eat 37 hot dogs too, and that means just about as much to me. I look at how can this team be best built to succeed this year? Because the thing that people forget, yes, they missed the playoffs, but they were absolutely killed by injuries. Now you look at Cleveland has gotten so much better. I feel like they're drastically better than Pittsburgh at this point, and you still got to catch the reigning AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. The best path to righteousness for Baltimore is to be able to run the ball with J.K. Dobbins coming back, protect Lamar Jackson, use the assets that you have. And right now, the only big glaring deficiency on this team is at guard. Well, knowing what I know about how they feel about Penning, he can fill that hole for now, slide out to the right side eventually, and if anything happened to Ronnie Stanley, this would, if the injury's not right, whatever the case may be, this would give you perfect protection.
In the second round, pick 45 overall, Andrew Booth, cornerback out of Clemson.
He has a much higher grade if you take out injuries. The problem is that since this process started, nobody's seen him. He hurt his quad, wasn't at the combine, didn't do the pro day. And so what happens with that is you fall into the squeaky wheel gets the grease area. So now a guy like Kyler Gordon, who I don't like the tape on as much as I like Andrew Booth, has gone in front of him because you've seen him more recently. What that tells me is that a smart team is going to swoop him up. Well, I talk about this a lot. There's no smarter team when it comes to the NFL draft than the Baltimore Ravens. This is not the Daxton Hill. It's not exactly the piece you were looking for. I know there was a pursuit of Tyrann Mathieu. But I look at how the defense is built now. I think Andrew Booth would come in, probably play in the slot right away. There's a lot to like about him. You don't always love him in zone. He doesn't always close out well there. Very fluid hips. One of the big drawbacks on him was football IQ. That seems to have been satiated, that some of the things you saw in film were more schematic problems than they were between his ears. I think he falls in nicely here. Long-term projection is on the outside. Would probably be an ultimate replacement to Marcus Peters 2 or 3 years down the road.
The first of two picks in the third round for the Baltimore Ravens comes up at 76 overall. You got him taking Amari Barno, the edge rusher from Virginia Tech.
And to me, this is just a weapon. He is so raw. And I feel like he was so poorly coached at Virginia Tech. But, I mean, you go to the combine, and at his size, you run a 4.36, somebody's going to fall in love with you. I look at him as somebody that needs to stand up because I think he'll get washed out with his hand in the dirt. So I look at him as a complementary piece to Tyus Bowser. Initially, it's going to be a three-man rotation of Bowser, Odafe Owa that they took last year, and Amari Barno. I think he could ultimately be the best of the bunch. I've been on this kid since before the season even ended. Then he went in, all the height, weight, speed. My fear is somebody takes him too high. This is about the I would say this should be the ceiling on where he goes because there's going to be some development in him. I don't know how well he's going to hold up against the run immediately. I think that can be fixed. There's just some basic little technical issues with him, but there are just not many humans on this planet that are 6'3" and some change and can run a 4.36 40 at his size. He can do that. This would give you the most athletic set of edge rushers in the NFL. And, I mean, you look at Baltimore, that's kind of par for the course.
Mm-hmm. You look at their pick at number 100, a compensatory pick in the third round, Leo Chenal, linebacker out of Wisconsin.
Basically, if you take everything that I just said about Amari Barno and ran it in reverse, that's what you get out of Leo Chenal. I know exactly what he is.
Okay.
He's going to be an interior linebacker, pass rush, just a phenomenal pass rush guy. I think he works nicely next to a Patrick Queen. I talk about complementary drafting in these videos all the time because where I feel like a lot of teams fuck themselves is they draft a guy, it doesn't immediately work, and then they just start trying to ease the load. And no, bring in somebody that does what he doesn't do. Patrick Queen is hyper athletic. The problem is that he's not necessarily, how do I put this nicely? He doesn't always play super smart. Not great in coverage. Leo Chenal actually pretty good coverage-wise for somebody that is this type of blitzer. I know the Steelers are in on him. I firmly believe that Leo Chenal winds up either with the Baltimore Ravens or with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wisconsin guy still very close with T.J. Watt. And to me, that's almost the cherry on top. Not only do I get a guy that fits my defense, is going to make my defense better, be an immediate upgrade from a pass rush standpoint, bring out something in Patrick Queen, and I can stick it to my rival.
The best drafting team in the NFL, they've loaded up on fourth-round picks as they have 5 of them in this 2022 NFL draft. Of course, we're coming to you from the Ingles studio, Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings. And with the first of the 5 fourth-round picks at 110 overall, Jelani Woods, tight end out of Virginia.
This is the hybrid, just super raw, but good God, what he can become tight end. Baltimore needs 3 tight ends on the roster at any given time. Right now, you've got Nick Boyle. Obviously, you've got Mark Andrews. Andrews does not – he gives you more as a blocker than I would have ever thought when he was coming out because he couldn't block a fucking road cone at Oklahoma, but he was never asked to. Nick Boyle is more the blocker. Jelani Woods is not a great blocker, but he's huge. 6'7", and can fly. There's a lot of raw. This is going to be kind of a weird projection because they don't look exactly the same. I could see him having a Darren Waller-type role where he never necessarily plays in line. He can block. Darren Waller, not so much. But he's such a height, weight, speed mismatch when you've got Marquise Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, who I absolutely love, Devin DuVernay, who the biggest thing he does is be fast. You look at a guy like Jelani Woods and just go, I don't know how you're going to line up with him. Because any way that you're going to deal with him, you're going to have to take attention off the other pieces in this offense. Is he a finished product? No. I thought he was a 5th-round guy, back into the 5th, beginning of the 6th, coming into this. Then he comes out and absolutely eviscerates the combine and the pro days and all of those things. If you adhere to RAS, which next week we'll be doing big board, and I'll get more into what RAS is. Basically, it is height, weight, speed, measurables, all of those things, and it's a metric that's been around since I have. It was created in 1987, just like I was. He's the number 1 most athletic tight end that has ever come into the NFL.
Wow.
Better than Vernon Davis, better than any of the litany of hyper-athletic tight ends you've ever seen. He is very raw. So having a Mark Andrews that is the tactician at tight end, I think that's an ideal fit for him, and Baltimore would probably be the best place in the NFL he could land.
At their own pick at 119 overall in the 4th round, Fedarian Mathis, defensive tackle out of Alabama.
I am sure somewhere there's a Ravens fan looking at this many picks coming off the board and no 3-4 end.
Sweet mother of God, what is the holdup?
Found you one. This would be a Madubuike replacement. To me, he has just never been. He had a good first year, and then last year it seemed like he just never fit. So this would be a rotational piece. I see Fedarian Mathis playing end in a 3-4, not as a 5 technique or anything like that. I think he would come in and that's what he would do. Pretty finished product. There are times that he kind of looked like Tarzan and played like Jane, but the good physical, because the physical talent here is insane. Very versatile, could offer something as a defensive tackle in your 4-man fronts and nickel. Just a versatile piece that I think fits nicely in Baltimore.
With Arizona's pick in the 4th round, the Baltimore Ravens at 128 could select Danny Gray, wide receiver out of SMU.
It's a player that has cranked up over the course of the process for me. I liked Reggie Robertson better coming into the process, and then I started watching this. He fits in the role of the height, weight, speed's all good. He's a little thin. I don't know that he's ever going to be great against press, but when you get the ball in his hands, very good things happen. He's basically Devin DuVernay on steroids. I just think he's a much more rounded product. And the two can play contiguously. It still allows you to use what it is that Devin DuVernay does. He's not so superiorly a deep threat that it overlaps with Hollywood Brown, but it does give you another threat that, Rashad Bateman's not the burner. He's not the deep threat. And he is the tactician, like I said about Mark Andrews. Route runner, big-bodied, good hands receiver. Danny Gray would be a 4th coming in. I think ultimately he would probably pass DuVernay for the spot as the 3. Would allow you to play Hollywood in the slot more because I do see him as a Y or Z receiver, not as much in the slot.
The last pick in the 4th round, the second to last pick in the 4th round at 139 overall, the first of 2 compensatory selections for the Baltimore Ravens. Donovan West, center out of Arizona State. So is this the Bradley Bozeman replacement?
Not necessarily immediately. I think Patrick McCarry is going to be that. There are just certain players that when you do mock drafts, and it's funny, I talk to people that do this all across the country and a couple across the world. Our Dutch friends, big fans. You'll see them in the comments. They comment a lot of these, and we appreciate them greatly. There are just times that you wind up with a player, and I don't know how he's going to go anywhere else. Because this is the place that makes absolutely the most sense. Comes off the ball really well, good first step, good hands. The drawback is that I don't know that he's ever going to be a stud. Well, that's why you get in the 4th round. Developmental piece, you can put him behind McCarry for a year. He may pass McCarry, in all honesty, because he is hyper-talented and he falls into that same vein with some of these other players I've talked about. As a Jets fan, I can tell you, Herman Edwards, he's a great motivational speaker. He ain't a great coach. And I think there's some of that where maybe the technique is lacking and just some work on the kid could unlock some hidden potential. Can play guard, can play center. I think he would come in and be the backup center immediately, probably the long-term solution with some versatility to play guard if he needed to.
All right, now the last pick in the 4th round for the Baltimore Ravens, 141 overall. Isaiah Spiller, running back out of Texas A&M. Do they really need another running back?
Well, and it's funny you said it that way because they have been talking to Melvin Gordon. If they were to bring in Melvin Gordon, then no. Mm-hmm. As of right now, they have talked to a slew of running backs that are in this process, and I'm looking at what is it that you do not currently have. Gus Edwards is the bruiser, and coming back off the injury. J.K. Dobbins is the dude. He can do a little bit of everything. Isaiah Spiller, to me, projects as a receiving back in this league that has the ability to run between the tackles. I feel like this is another player that people are losing their shit because, he didn't run that fast. Watch the tape. That's what Baltimore does better than any team in the league. You don't get lost in the minutia and the myopic bullshit that is the combine. Can that really improve a guy? Yes. Should it really knock him down this much? No. He came into this process as the 3rd best running back in this class. Clearly. It was Breece Hall for me at 1, Kenny Walker at 2, and then Isaiah Spiller fell somewhere right around 3. There were a couple other, I've always really liked James Cook, so I had him higher, but that's where he was. Now he's in this just gross Dameon Pierce, Pierre Strong, and all of these guys have come up because of what they did at the combine. Nothing that you see on tape. You can't watch the film and say you like B and C better than A. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So a smart team's going to come along, take him, use him as a rotational piece. Baltimore has long had 3 running backs in the stable. I'm not in love with Justice Hill, and I never have been. Doesn't really fit what they do. I think Isaiah Spiller does, and he would ultimately be the replacement.
All right, the final pick of the 2022 NFL Draft for the Ravens comes in the 6th round, 197 overall. You got them taking another kid out of Virginia, Joey Blunt, who plays safety.
This is a very, very, very popular player in this pre-draft process for one reason. He's way more athlete right now than he is any position. Yeah, he played safety at Virginia. He's a tall-ass safety for one. He's a thick safety for two. I just look at him and go, this can be one of those Isaiah Simmons, Joker, whatever you want to call that role, where, yes, you can play deep safety. Yes, you can play linebacker. I think that you will help in the run game immediately. You'll be a 3rd or 4th safety initially. This is a player that very few people are talking about, and he's going to go higher than you think. Of which, when I say that means he's going to go in the 6th round like he does here, as opposed to, I don't think Pro Football Focus even has him on the board, which is insanity to me. But you get into the 200s, and it's really funny who people rank and who they don't rank. Popular kid, a lot of interest, and I think he would fit nicely in Baltimore.
Well, this is a hell of a class for the Baltimore Ravens, or would be. This is the A-plus perfect scenario mock draft, and I think if any team sticks as close to this, it's going to be Baltimore.
Well, this is my favorite class that we've done so far, and we will do one for every team. They will all be out by the weekend. We're recording this on Thursday. Every team in the NFL will be out by the end of the weekend. We still have my competition mock draft, the one that I'll be putting in the media contest that we'll put out pick by pick. Processes, teams' thoughts. We're going to do a lot of fun things between now and the April 28th NFL Draft, live from Las Vegas, Nevada.
And we will be covering every pick here in the Sportsocracy live on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And, of course, we'll have more team-by-team content coming out on the YouTube channel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. Join us live every weekday afternoon at 3 o'clock here here in the Ingles studio. Ingles Supermarkets, low prices, love the savings.
If you like these picks, if you don't like these picks, frankly, if you just want to tell me I'm a big ginger-bearded man bun dipshit, you're completely licensed to do that. Throw those in the comments. Starting this Friday at 5 Eastern Standard Time, our happy hour, the uncensored third hour after our 2-hour ESPN Radio live stream, will be all draft questions. We'll be doing that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Every one of those days leading up to the draft, we'll be doing about 2 minutes per team, just rapid fire. But we'll be pulling questions out of the comments. We'll try to get to every one of them. The quicker you get it in, obviously, the better. And it's draft season. It's draft season.
I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, things are going great.